Good evening, folks, and welcome to another episode of Backmarker Battles NASCAR Edition. I'm your host, Colby Evans, aka Stoughton Parker on Twitter. It is great to be with you guys. We are in the second to last show of the season and coming into our last race of the season, championship weekend at Phoenix. And boy, the battles are in full force, man. Xfinity, I cannot wait to talk about Xfinity, man. We got so many battles to cover. Truck Series battle is so close. Cup Series battle is pretty well settled, but we'll still go over it anyway. But anyway, guys, we got a huge show for you guys today. So come on and file on in. We'll get through my tiny little intro that we go through at the beginning of all my podcast shows, and we'll get right into the action. So you guys know the drill. Follow me on social media at Stoughton Parker on Twitter. Like and subscribe to the channel. We just passed 560 subs. After this episode, please go out and check out last night's ARCA Racing podcast. It was a very, very fun episode previewing the ARCA West championship race. And then, of course, give follows to Brock Beard, NASCAR Man on Twitter, as they are friends of the show. And, of course, check out racingexperts.com for all NASCAR ARCA content. Whew, I love that intro. So let's get right into it, folks, shall we? Phoenix Raceway, not particularly one of my favorite racetracks on the circuit, but still it is the championship race of the season. And yeah, like I said at the beginning of the show, man, the battles are in full force. Xfinity, without a doubt, has really the most going for it this weekend. But obviously, we still got Truck. We still got Cup. We'll also go over the entry list, talk about maybe some surprising entries, and maybe the lack of entries, because I will say it's kind of shocking. Kind of a spoiler alert, the Truck Series will not have a full field. In fact, they are actually practicing in about 2 minutes. Unfortunately, it's not on TV. So that kind of sucks to see truck practice not on TV, but nonetheless, they're going right now, and there is not a 36th entrant. And I guess that leads us right into the Truck Series. The Truck Series championship race at Phoenix, the only race that looks to be sponsored for the weekend, as the Xfinity and Cup races are simply just labeled the Cup Series and Xfinity Series championship races. Lucas Oil been a proud sponsor of the Truck Series for a long time, so they're sponsoring the event, of course. 35 trucks. So notable entries in the field that I would say I did not see coming. Johnny Sauter, driving for Young's Motorsports. Definitely did not see that coming. It is the third different organization Johnny has driven for this season. Of course, he drove the G2G truck at Daytona. Well, let's just say that went well. And obviously, he's done a part-time schedule in the 13 for Thor Sport, but I genuinely did not see this coming with Johnny Sauter. Driving the 02 for Young's Motorsports, looks to be no sponsorship on the truck other than the Ranco company, but that's owned by Randy Young, so looks like really no sponsorship there. Young's Motorsports has been kind of struggling to fill up the sponsorships on their trucks. The 20 truck especially, last couple weeks. Tyler Hill, both Hill Motorsports trucks are entered and locked in. Looks like Timmy, based off of pictures, he might be driving the same truck that Tyler drove back at Phoenix, unless I got another flame truck. And Tyler is driving a beautiful paint scheme car with Gary Mercer Trucking on it. So it's good to see some sponsorship on that 5 truck. The 7 truck for Spire Motorsports is entered with Bono Mannion, with Raja Caruth entered. Other notable entries, Armani Williams is in the 20. Hopefully he can pick up the speed because he really struggled back at Kansas. Caden Honeycutt will finish out the season in the 30 truck. I think that's a good pickup. I hope Caden can get the funding for the full season next year. I think he'd be a good fit for that Stephen Lane truck team. Keith McGee returns to Josh Rion driving the 35. Bill McNally, I kind of like this as well. Even though this race was not on the original schedule for Jake Garcia, I'm glad he's running this race. I think it's a good opportunity for them. Plus, they got the Can-N team. Look at me talking about history. ARCA West team out there. So kind of get the whole gang together, and it's kind of good for Jake Garcia. He ran the ARCA West race there last year, so he does have previous experience. And a notable entry that is missing, we got Chris Hacker in the 43. He ran the 33 truck last year for Rayom in this race, but the 44 niche truck, and I find this really interesting. The 44 niche truck is not entered for this race. Now, of course, we know Chris Wright left the team just before or just after Richmond. He left Nice Motorsports to go drive the 68 for Brandon Built Motorsports. And this really left the 44 truck open. Obviously, we know we've seen the 41 team this season with guys like Justin Marks and Ross Chastain. But obviously, with now the 44 open, that pretty much canceled any more plans for the 41 team, as those drivers and partnerships would likely be moved over to the 44. We saw Chad Chastain, I believe Ross's brother, drive the truck. We also saw, who else did we see in that 44 truck? I don't really remember. The truck really hadn't ran that good. We saw Bailey Curry. Yeah, Bailey ran the truck for a couple of races. Really shocked, personally, not to see it run this race, especially in a start and park setting. I bring this up for some strange reason. I don't know how this happened. I don't know if that was the only one who saw this, but for some strange reason, I don't know if you guys saw this, but I retweeted this on my Twitter because I'm scrolling through my timeline and all of a sudden I see this account that says NASCAR payouts. And I'm like, what? And it's like, this got to be fake. So I click on the account, I scroll down, and I'm looking at payouts. And I'm like, NASCAR does not list their payouts. Okay, we haven't listed their payouts since 2015. But then I'm reading through it, and I'm like, this is real. This is a real entry blank that someone has somehow gotten from the media site, created a Twitter account, and is now posting. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And it had the truck payouts for Phoenix on there. So I didn't really know anything else, so I just kind of retweeted both tweets. It got quite a bit of attention, and within a day, the account was taken down, thankfully so. Like I said, NASCAR is very private about the payouts, and for a rightful reason so. People, if you guys want to go look up the account, it's been canceled, and rightfully so. That kind of information is kept secret for a reason. I was told that secret, and unfortunately, I cannot tell that to you. Because trust me, I've asked many people why they no longer post the payouts, and I got quite a few answers why. So I just thought that was quite interesting. But the one bit I will share was that they said that 36th place would get about $9,000. Now, I know that's not sounding very good, but that's kind of been the way the Truck Series payouts have been for a while. And I will say, it really shocks me that Nice did not bring the 44, even in a start and park setting. Because even though start and parks are not allowed in the Truck Series, they are allowed start and parks are not allowed in the Cup Series. They are still allowed in the Xfinity and Truck Series. It's just with the big influx of teams, it doesn't really make sense to do it anymore, if that also makes sense. So it really shocks me that we did not get a 36 entrant to get out there and maybe get a quick cash grab. But at the end of the day, maybe it's just easier for the team not to do it. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to find guys for the truck. You got to find a crew chief for it. You got to find a start and park driver willing to do it. So maybe it's just easier not to do it. But very interesting not to see the 44 truck there of Nice Motorsports after running the entire season. They just don't use it. And again, the haul out to Phoenix, I think, is another problem, as maybe why we had a short field. Obviously, the haul to Phoenix is grueling for a lot of these organizations. It really is rough on them. And unfortunately, it's just maybe Nice was just tight on funding. I don't know. But 44 truck notably missing. So other news and notes, Corey Heim is back in the 51 for the last race of the season before he moves to Tricon Garage next season. Other notables, we got Lane Riggs in the 62 truck for Chris Larson. Great to see him back. Lane did a great job at IRP and hopefully can bring home another good finish. And other than that, the standard entries for this race, for backmarkers, and you could really say, you talk about a series that is really kind of, with all due respect, kind of lost its backmarkers. It kind of is the Truck Series. The Truck Series, a lot of the teams, you got your teams that'll run in the back, but not like slow teams that we've seen in the past. And I will say it's definitely good to see at the same time, like I said, but at the same time, I kind of liked, to cheer on those slower guys, but hey, you want to get them out of the sport, you want to get them out of the sport. But anyway, you guys are here for the battle. we got so we got the top 20 truck battle right now. Hill Motorsports is looking in, but it's a 32-point gap. The top 20 is already pretty much set. That's why I don't usually spend much time on the truck series, because that gap has been kind of the same for a while. Young's Motorsports holds that final top 20 position. The 56 of Hill Motorsports doesn't look like they will crack in, and that battle is pretty much set in stone of where it is. So that's why I usually don't kind of spend a lot of time on the truck series here, is because it's kind of already set in stone, and there's not much to really discuss about it anyway. But they are practicing right now, and it looks like there's actually a caution flag on track. I wish it was televised so we could see what happened, but wouldn't shock me if someone got into the wall. Phoenix is a pretty tough track to practice on, especially on a green track. But anyway, we move over to, honestly, I think the biggest portion of the Backmarker battle show that I think is arguably the most interesting to talk about. It is the Xfinity Series. The Xfinity Series has provided us with just some amazing races this season, amazing on-track product, and the Backmarkers themselves have really just outdone themselves with what they've done this season. We've got the top 20 battle in owner points, the top 20 battle in driver points, the top 30 10K weekly bonus. So much to talk about. A lot of Backmarkers struggled at Martinsville. Some had great runs, some had rough runs. And coming into this race, the last race of the season, the coveted number 30 spot went to the 35 of Emerling Gase Motorsports. They will get the 10K bonus for this race. So will the 08 and the 45. Now, the key right here is they will get the 10K bonus for this race. But remember, the top 30 10K, the top 30 who are the top 30 at the end of this season will get the top 30 10K bonus for the first 3 races of 2023. That's an extra guaranteed $30,000. So for those organizations, that's a lot of money. You're instantly going to get an extra $30,000. And especially going out to those West Coast races, that really helps. So you're really going to see these guys pick up the ante and pick up the pace and try to get into that top 30. You want to get that extra $10,000. And right now, the real cars that are in that top 30 bonus battle, I would easily say that the top 28 are locked in. This is pretty much a battle between 29th through 33rd. 29th is the 08 SS Greenlight entry, which has 385 points. And 33rd is the 66 of MBM Motorsports, which has 362 points. So it's only a 23-point gap. And within those 5 cars, again, it's only 23 points. So there's a lot of shuffling that can go around and a lot of cars, that could trade positions on track. And, in Jesse Uji Motorsports, they're not playing around. They got Kyle Weatherman, their best bullet in the 34 car. And I will say, unless they have another crash like they did at Martinsville, I fully expect Kyle Weatherman to get that 34 car inside the top 30 by the end of the year. But again, anything can happen. The 08 of SS Greenlight Racing and the 34, they have a decent gap, especially the 08 car. The 08 car in general has an 11-point gap. So I'd say as long as Brandon Brown just runs a conservative race, he is pretty well safe. But between the 35 and the 66, that's only 12 points, and with a 38 car field, 12 points can swift very quickly. But for teams like MBM, DGM, Jesse Uji, and Emerling Gase, that extra 30 grand means a ton. So while the top 30 10K bonus may be settled for this weekend, still watch those cars because they will be fighting to get into that top 30 end of the year. So that way they can be in the top 30 for the first 3 races of next season. Because remember, we don't start using 2023 owner points until we get to race number 4 of 2023. That's how it works in the Xfinity series. I believe that's actually how it works in Xfinity and Truck, is those teams are kind of safe and locked into that bonus. So kind of interesting battle is there, and I would definitely focus on those cars. But also the cars I want you guys to focus on, I'm going to ask you guys to focus on a lot of cars here, is the top 20 owner point bonus, one of my favorite battles every year to watch. $80,000 is on the line. And I tell you, man, that's a hefty, for some of those teams, That's a hefty amount of money. Goes towards Christmas bonuses, for some of those crew members who work their asses off, and maybe, to just get some improving parts for next season. Now, the top 18 are locked in, but 19th through 24th, yes, right now this could swing 19th to 24th. Right now, it is a 31-point gap difference. But with 38 cars in the race, logistically, that many cars, 6 cars, have a logistical chance of climbing into that top 20 bonus. Right now, the last 2 cars that are holding 19th and 20th is the 02 of Our Motorsports and the 68 of Brandon Built Motorsports. I will say Chris Wright definitely has not done the team any favors. The 68 team, I think, was at one point, 16th in the points and well above the cut line. But I don't know, man. Chris Wright, I was very critical about him in his first couple of starts, and he really hasn't gotten any better. And it's not to be rude to the guy, but, he did a lot. He didn't really do much in trucks, and he hasn't really done much here. And even when he's finishing races, he's not running very well. And he's really dropped that 68 team in the points. And, with only holding a whopping, he's only got now a 5-point gap over Jeb Burton, who, Jeb's team is not race-winning equipment, but they've definitely stabilized and became a top 20 team. The 36 of DGM Racing, they got a great bullet, and Josh Williams. And even the 07 team, they got Joe Graff Jr. When on his best day, he can be a very competitive car. And then you got Jordan Anderson Racing way at the back, but they arguably have some great equipment as well. I would definitely say, for their entry list, we'll go over their entry list in a second. I just want to get through their battles first. The drivers of those cars, like I said, the 02 will be Parker Retzlaff. The 27, of course, is Jeb Burton. The 08 is Brandon 08. 07 is Joe Graff Jr. The 36 will be Josh Williams. And, of course, the 31 is Myatt Snyder. All those guys, they have quite a bit of experience at Phoenix. It'll just be interesting to see. It'll really be interesting to see how those guys race each other on track. Well, it might be a little tough for the 07 and the 31, and even maybe the 36. I would really say that 68 team desperately needs a clean race because that 27 car is right there. And right now, with Jeb Burton not coming back next year, there's a possibility that 27 team might not even exist next season. Same with the 23. Right now, we don't know how many cars Our Motorsports will have next year. So as of right now, that 27 team, they really want to go out on a high note. And so, they're really, really going to be pushing to get into that bonus. And only 5 points, man. So, maybe if the 27 gets stage points, we don't know how it's going to go. But right now, if I'm that 68 team, if I'm the 02, I'd play it safe. You got a little bit of a gap. You got 7 points on the 27, and they run about the same every week. So I don't think I'd be concerned if I was the 02. I would say for this race, for the 02 team, stay out of trouble. Don't put yourself in any situation and take whatever finish you get and just get the $80,000 bonus, if that makes sense to you guys. Whereas, if you're the 68 team, you got to play defense. If you're the 27 team, you got to go on the offense. Same with the 36, same with the 07. Now, we'll just have to see how that race goes. Hopefully Chris Wright doesn't crash himself again. But, yeah, I know it's still hard to believe that Jeb Burton is the only poor guy who has not gotten a top 10 this season. That is, but again, Our Motorsports is not a Chevrolet backed team. They just run Chevrolet motors. It's the difference between being a Chevrolet backed organization and then just running Chevrolet motors. 2 different things. That separates Our Motorsports from teams like RCR. And that's why I wish Our Motorsports never went up from 1 to 3 cars. I feel like it really hurt the performance of that team. Our final bonus to get into for Xfinity is the top 20 drivers bonus. Now, regardless of how many attempts you've made, the top 20 in the drivers bonus get an $80,000 bonus as well as a reward, just for kind of being the top 20 best. Now, we had over 25 full-time drivers start this season. But as the season has went on, some guys have missed races, been released from their rides, or just couldn't find funding. right now, we actually only have 22 drivers who are left on that full-time chart. And right now, holding that last position is actually Brett Moffitt. Yes, Brett Moffitt is still in the top 20 in Xfinity driver points. He holds a 6-point gap over the 4 of Bailey Curry. All Bailey Curry has to do is finish about 30th or better, and he will make himself $80,000 richer. So if you're Bailey Curry this weekend, obviously you want to get the JD Motorsports team a good finish, but I hope someone told them that. I hope someone's gotten in touch with them being like, hey, man, we don't need to go out there and put ourselves in any danger. We just need to finish 30th or better, and you get yourself $80,000 bonus. I mean, it's that simple. Who doesn't want an extra $80,000? So I don't know, man. We'll just have to see how it goes. But for Bailey, it's a pretty easy battle for him. All he has to do is finish 30th or better. And Bailey's great at Phoenix. Bailey drove a Mike Harmon car to 7th at Phoenix. So I think Bailey can get it done. So yeah, those are the Xfinity battles, man. A lot of close battles. We look at the entry list themselves, 39 cars for 38 spots. The notable entries in the field, Parker Retzlaff in the 0-2. Matt Mills is back in the 5 now. Brennan Poole is driving the 6. That is the car that has sponsored by YouTuber Eric Estep. Brandon Brown is still in the 0-8. Dawson Cram is in the 13 for Carl Long. That was Timmy Hill, was transferred to Dawson Cram. Kaz Grala is in the 26 for Sam Hunt. Joey Gase will be driving his own car, the Emerlin Gase car in the finale. Kyle Sieg is in the 38. Raja Cruz is back in the 44. Dylan Bassett, instead of Ronnie Bassett, will drive the 77. And BJ McLeod will finish the 78 season in the 78 car. And Alex LeBay in the 92. Again, one DNQ. Some news to note right there. Garrett Smithley will drive the 78 full-time in 2023 for BJ McLeod Motorsports in the Xfinity Series. I think it's a great pickup. You need a guy who gets the most out of that equipment. BJ's Xfinity team has really kind of fallen this season in terms of performance. And, Garrett still gets the most out of it. So I think it's a great pickup. I think it's a great partnership. And if I'm BJ McLeod next year, for me, I would really just run one full-time Xfinity car plus one part-time Xfinity car. And then, of course, you got the Cup team. That's what I would do. I wouldn't spread yourself too thin. I think that's the one problem that BJ McLeod's team also ran into this season. I feel like they kind of spread themselves a little too thin with their resources. For owner point purposes, right now, the only cars that are probably going to worry about going home would either be the 13 or the 77. It is important to note that Dylan Bassett did get the 77 actually inside the top 25 in qualifying. So the real pressure is on the 13 of Dawson Cram. If somehow the 13 of Dawson Cram can qualify in as well, the next car to go home would be the 78 of BJ McLeod. So, yeah, definitely the qualifying stuff is there. It's either pretty much going to be the 13 or the 77 to go home. To DNQ pick, unfortunately, I don't know why. I'm just going to have to pick Dawson. I think the 77 will have enough speed to get in the race. As much as I love MBM Motorsports, even working for him, Dawson failed to qualify for the truck race last year at Phoenix. I just don't see him having the speed. I think he'll come close. I'm not saying he'll qualify last. I think Dawson will probably qualify about 34th, 35th, just shy of that 33rd position. But I think, unfortunately, the 13 will suffer yet another DNQ this season. That is my pick. But definitely the Xfinity race, guys. It is going to be the race to watch. Absolutely 100% the race to watch. With all those battles going on, I'll also shout out to Tommy Joe Martins for giving us those numbers. He was the guy. If you guys need confirmation on if that $80,000 is real, that was told to me by Tommy Joe Martins. So don't worry. I got that from a credible source. But yeah, so I know I don't blame you guys. I know you guys. I'm telling you guys to watch these backmarker battles. But yeah, I don't blame you guys in the chat for wanting to watch the 19 and the 54 in the Xfinity race. Again, that Xfinity race is just going to be so wild, from battles at the back of the field to the middle of the field to the front of the field. I mean, it's a shame that this race is only, 200 laps? I mean, I wish this race was 300 laps. Oh, geez. I mean, it's going to go over like that. We'll be interesting to see. And I guess if you want to give a championship 4 pick, I'll take Barry. I'll take Barry for a championship 4 pick. But some more notes for the Xfinity series. I am kind of curious to see what a lot of these backmarker teams will look like next season. Obviously, like I just said, Garrett Smithley will drive the 78 for BJ McLeod. Will Matt Mills be back? Matt Mills has not driven as many races as we usually have seen him drive in the 5. Is the funding drying up, or is he just scaling back? I don't know. I do think BJ McLeod's team needs to either scale back or improve. And I think having maybe one primary full-time car, maybe not even run a part-time organization, maybe just run one full-time car, the 78 of Garrett Smithley. Put all your focus into one car. And I think the results for that team would actually be a lot better than what people would think. And I think it would help the team as well. And maybe if you have a funded driver come available, fine, run a part-time car. But I would not run 2 full-time cars again for BJ McLeod if I was that. I don't see Alpha Prime Racing going to 3 cars next year. I think that'd be spreading themselves a little too thin. I do think, for me, that would help Alpha Prime Racing. I know they find just funded drivers week to week to week to week to week. But all the drivers this season in those cars have only run about a max of maybe 6 to 8 races. I think what would really help Alpha Prime, in my opinion, would be find a driver that's going to run at least half the schedule and put them in one car with one crew chief. Because I feel like all these different races that they have to do, all these different kind of drivers they have to work with this crew chief, I actually feel like that hurts the team. Because we know that team, Alpha Prime Racing, is perfectly capable of being a top 20, top 15 organization. But I think in my opinion, what hurts the organization is just so many different drivers coming through. You can't find that rhythm with the team, and you can't build those owner points and build those finishing results week to week. My personal dream for Alpha Prime would be Raja in the 44 full time and Stefan in the 45 full time. Those would be, if I could somehow get those 2 guys full time in those 2 cars, I think Alpha Prime Racing would be, if not the top backmarker team in the Xfinity series. But yeah, and other lower budget teams, I think MBM will probably stay the same. Maybe the 66 and 13 going full time. I would expect Bobby Dotter to continue the same with the 07 and the 08. DGM, DGM at one point were running 4 cars this season. They scaled back down to 3 and then scaled back down to 2 for a brief while redoing the 92 later this season. Will we even see Brandon Built Motorsports next season? Obviously, with Brandon Brown's team not having the funding and Brandon Brown confirming that he won't be back, will we even see them next season? We know Emerling Gase is going to run 2 cars. I would assume the 53 would be the second one. I wonder at the same time, it was like, with who? Who is Emerling Gase got to field a second entry? They just going to go week to week again with this thing? I mean, I could see that at the same time. I would expect Mike Harmon, despite what people are saying, Mike Harmon will more than likely be back next season. I mean, he's still got quite a few cars in his race shop. The Bassett team, I would expect them to be back in a part-time schedule. RSS, I don't think we'll see the 28 as much next season. I think RSS should really focus just on 2 cars. I think whenever they bring out the 28, it hurts the performance of all the teams. Because, again, you're just not putting enough focus into that one car. And, for any other really backmark organizations, kind of think we pretty much touched on all of them already. I don't even think you consider the 34 team a backmarker anymore. So considering where they're running every week with Kyle Weatherman, I don't consider that 34 team a backmarker organization anymore, especially with the kind of sponsorship they have every week. And I believe they're actually working in Brian Keselowski's former race shop. So I don't think the 34 is really a backmarker organization. They got some great funding over there. They got some great sponsorships over there. So I think we can kind of take out the 34 team. But the reason why they're where they are in owner points is because, well, Jesse kind of put that team in a hole at the beginning of the year, running kind of poorly. And yes, I didn't forget as well, JDM to 3 cars next season. That actually brings up a great point I almost forgot to mention. Ryan Vargas also mentioned he is leaving JD Motorsports. I don't know if he already has left or will after this race. Even though he's not driving, I don't know if he's still going to this race as a pit crew member or if he's already left completely. So that opens up a lot of opportunities right there. JDM's going to 3 cars next season. And obviously I know Ryan probably wanted to return. Maybe he found funding for maybe a couple races, maybe just couldn't find funding for the whole season. But it does point, what are they going to go? What were they going to do? Where is JDM going to find these other 2 drivers? I know he doesn't bring a lot of sponsorship with him, maybe a couple races, but I really, really hope Brennan Poole gets signed to a full-time deal with JDM. We saw what he could do in a Mike Harmon car, and we've seen what he can do in a JDM car. If I'm Johnny Davis, man, I would seriously consider hiring Brennan Poole for the 6th car or the 3rd car. And if he's not going to sign him full-time, I would definitely sign Poole to as many races as possible. And I'm sincerely happy that Brennan Poole is getting these opportunities. And I think it really showed just how good he really was. And I think it also proved that Chip Ganassi Xfinity team, when he ran for it, was nothing special on a week-to-week basis. But who would be that 3rd driver, man? Like, they want to go to 3 cars. They confirm they're going to 3 cars. Where are they going to get that 3rd driver from? I don't see who else could come in and fill that role in terms of a funded driver. I don't see who's all going to come in. But again, I'm sure they're building that behind the scenes, and we'll see that in the future. Jesse Uji Motorsports has hinted at a 2-car team. I could see it. I could see it at the same time. The 43 is open in the Xfinity Series. So if they just want to flip their numbers and run 43, I could see Jesse Wuji's team. I could see him running 2 cars next season. Kyle Weatherman in the 34 and Jesse in the 43 at select races. That's personally what I would do. I would run Jesse in the 43 in Xfinity Series, a 2nd car for Jesse Uji Motorsports at select races only, and then have Kyle Weatherman run the 34 full time. And then if you want Jesse to run, the 34, then you just put Kyle in the 43. I think that could work too. I could see upwards of 45 to 50 Daytona next year. I don't know if I'd go that high, but like usual, the Daytona Xfinity race will bring a lot of entries. Other teams like Jimmy Means Racing, man, Jimmy Means Racing, they attempted 6-7 races this season and failed to make any of them. It's the first time since 2006 that Jimmy Means Racing has failed to qualify for any races. And, with the team just not really being very fast, they got good cars, they got decent equipment, but I don't know. I think we'll see Jimmy Means at a couple of races next season, but it's very well possible. Jimmy's now in his early 70s. I could see Jimmy shutting down next year, but I hope that doesn't happen, but I could sadly see it. But yeah, we'll just have to see how the Xfinity Series looks next season. It's going to look so different. One thing, like I said multiple times, I'm excited about is how different the Truck Series and Xfinity Series will look next season. That is one thing I am excited for. Tyler in the chat, Morgan's team is already shut down. Yeah, Morgan sold that car to JD Motorsports quite a while ago. So yeah, Morgan's team's done. Yeah. So now after Xfinity, we move on to the Cup Series where we have the top 33 charter battle, and we have the top 25 end of year season. Now you talk about the Xfinity Series getting a decent payout. The top 25 in the Cup Series get a whopping $1 million bonus, which I tell you, man, that's a pretty hefty paycheck. Right now, the top 25, it is basically between the 6 and the 16. The RFK car, obviously DQ'd from Martinsville, killed their good finish. Even despite the points penalties, both the 34 and the 6 have managed to climb back into the top 25. They hold a 30-point lead over the 16 of Kaulig Racing. So realistically, if Brad can just finish 15th, 20th, and even if Allmendinger like wins, it's just not going to be enough. So kind of a shame for Kaulig that the 16 car in its debut season won't get that $1 million bonus. Other notable cars that will not get the bonus, the 47 of JTG Doherty, which is 27th, the 41 of Stuart Haas, which is 28th, and the 29th place car of the 21 of Wood Brothers Racing. Those three cars are definitely surprising. Would not have expected them to be outside the top 25, and they do not have a shot at the bonus. The top 33 charter battle we were talking about was the 7 Spire Motorsports charter. That charter came from, I don't know, one of Rick Ware's teams had to finish inside the top 33. It's done that, so that'll reset the 3-year clock for that team. However, next year, more than likely, the 15 Rick Ware entry will not break into the top 33 following this Phoenix race, which means 2023 will be the year that Rick Ware might lose the 15 charter. If the 15 does not finish inside the top 33 next season, that charter will either be repossessed or sold to a different organization. So it's very well possible that Rick Ware Racing will only have one charter come 2024, unless, somehow the performance of that 15 car dramatically improves next season, which unfortunately I just don't expect it to. I just don't expect it to do that. But hey, $30 million right now. Rick Ware, you could say he's a smart businessman. I think he's just waiting for the right time to sell it or lease it to someone. It'll be interesting to see who he gives, who he maybe sells that charter to next season. What's the latest on the Live Fast Motorsports charter? They did finish inside the top 33 last season, so this would be year 1 of Live Fast Motorsports outside the top 33. So as of right now, BJ McLeod Motorsports still has, or Live Fast Motorsports still has 2023 safe. However, if they finish outside the top 33 in 2023, then 2024 would be the year that either BJ McLeod's got to pick it up in speed or their charter will be taken away. Where did Live Fast get their charter from? Wasn't it Live Fast? Wasn't it Go Fast Racing? Didn't they just, I know they pretty much purchased the assets of Go Fast Racing, but wasn't it the 32 charter is where the 78 got it from? I'm not quite sure where it was Go Fast Racing. That's what I figured, because they basically purchased everything: cars, tools, equipment. William Byron fan team underfunded. Any word on Mike Offerano Motorsports? Oh, Jesus. I'd rather not talk about that guy. That team is a complete mess. I with all due respect, I don't really want to talk about Mike Offerano. The only thing he's remembered for is his ARCA flip, but his team is, with all due respect to that team, I'm a fan of underdog teams, but they're not really a team that you want to cheer for. Yes, Joe Falk owns the charter from when he went to Circle Sport. Then went to, Joe Falk's been everywhere. Went to Levine, went to TMG, went to Go Fast, and is now affiliated with Live Fast Motorsports. And of course, the Cup Series, the standard, 36 cars. Obviously, with the costs to run a next gen, the open cars, we just won't see it, but it's fine. It's not like we need any extra open entries for this race. Pretty standard entry list. Garrett Smithley returns to the Cup Series driving the 15 after JJ had driven it for the most of the rest of the season. Landon Castle will finish out the season in the 77 for Spire. Of course, Alex Bowman returns to the 48. That's great to see. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Not really many notable entries in this race. Of course, my championship pick for the Cup Series, I will pick Chastain. Staines Racing, oh geez. 3F Racing, I could actually see being a real thing. I think 3F Racing will actually be real. Staines Racing, I don't believe that. I'll believe it when I see it. But 3F Racing, they showed up to Homestead They were at Homestead. The owners were. Now, I know the team wasn't, but the owners were. And they talked with media. You know, they had their team shirts on. So I think 3F racing is a real thing. It's just going to, obviously, with this next-gen program, it takes time to get cars and tools and equipment ready. But, yeah, and I hope, the one thing we hope for next season, the one thing I can guarantee for you guys next season, yeah, we saw a lot of 36-car fields this year. About 90% of the season had 36-car fields. But I can guarantee you right now, we will have more than 36 cars at least 40 to 50% of the races next season. Many teams are, now that we've gotten some next-gen cars coming in, the cars are becoming safer and more accessible now. Now we got some more parts coming in. We got more teams coming. I think we could see, 2311 running a third part-time car. We know Project 91 will be there next year. 3F Racing is out there. MBM Motorsports is out there. The Money Team Racing. So I definitely think we'll see more than just, and then, like I said, the Hesburg team, the 26-27 cars. I could see the Hesburg team purchasing the 15 charter. I could see that. And update from Molten Rage in the chat. Derek Krause has crashed and is going to a backup. Ouch. Again, truck practice going on right now as we record this episode. Nope, no TV. So if you guys think about turning it on right now, it's not on TV, unfortunately. Qualifying is, but that's tomorrow. So that sucks for Derek. You talk about for BJ McLeod, and I talked to BJ McLeod back at Kansas, and I really learned a lot as to why, the speed is drastically different. Because we saw last season that Live Fast Motorsports was faster than the Rick Ware cars. But this season, BJ McLeod's team is the only Cup Series team that is still building their own engines. What I mean by that is like in-house motors. We know Hendrick has their engine program. We know Toyota has their own engine program. But BJ, it's an in-house engine program. Even Rick Ware Racing is getting Ford technical support. And I think that's the real reason why BJ McLeod's team maybe has fallen in speed, is because they are an in-house engine program. I do agree, yes. The Hesburg team needs to run more races with Kivat next year. Definitely agree with that. I hope Villeneuve returns to Daytona 500. I don't know if Loris Hesmans is approved to run Cup next year, or at least a Daytona. But I would love to see Villeneuve run again. How come BJ uses Fords and Cup, Chevys and Xfinity? It's just kind of how it is. Some teams run different manufacturers. As long as they're not manufacturer-backed teams. I mean, Carl Long, he runs Fords and Toyotas in the Xfinity series, so they can really kind of run whatever they want. But yeah, pretty much Live Fast is kind of the Jeremy Clements of the Cup Series, their own in-house engine program, I guess you could say. But yeah, so lots of storylines to go over, man. This is a big weekend for the Backmarkers. Truck Series, Xfinity Series, Cup Series, all I expect to put on good shows. Lots of 2023 talk. I know you guys are going hammer right now in the chat. And, don't worry, guys. The one thing I want to make sure I get you guys, even though next week will be the finale episodes of the ARCA Racing podcast and Backmarker Battles, we will still be doing random podcasts here and there in the offseason. I got a couple of ARCA guests coming on the show. I can already tell you that right now. We got a couple of confirmed guests. Might get some NASCAR people on the show. So don't think that just because next week is the season finale for both shows, that's it. Yes, right now, MBM Motorsports, they are not shutting down. They are making more money renting their next gen than actually running it. I think that's the funniest part to all this. MBM is making more money renting their car than they actually are running it. And it's one of those guesses, Zachary Tinkle? Well, maybe so. But yeah, I would love to have Zachary on the show sometime, of course. The G2G announcement, I do not know anything about that. Expect them to announce that themselves. Tim Vines has Tim Vines has said on his Facebook that he is looking for 2023 sponsors. So, yes, do expect G2G Racing to be back next year. But, yeah, that's it for me, guys. If you want to get on NASCAR.com now and tune into the rest of truck practice, at least track it live, and then tune into ARCARacing.com where you can track ARCA West practice qualifying. You guys can tune on to that well. And join me next Thursday as we will have maybe Tuesday or Thursday, one of those days where we will have the finale for Backmarker Battles. And I thank you guys for joining me on this second show. And, you know, the one thing that I've kind of said is, as much as we love doing the ARCA podcast, it's fun being able to talk about some NASCAR stuff at the same time. And I'm proud to say that next year, along with the ARCA podcast going full-time, Backmarker Battles will be going full-time in 2023. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you guys tonight. So we will catch you all next week with the ARCA Racing podcast and Backmarker Battles. And I guys hope you enjoy your championship weekend, and I hope your championship picks win. And we can all come here next week and have a big celebration. So to everyone else, have a great Thursday night. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you all real soon. So long, guys. Colby Evans signing off.